It's now been 10 years since we all watched those cruise missiles fire from the USS Bunker Hill, kicking off the shock and awe campaign that eventually became an 8-year war in Iraq. And on the 10th anniversary of the war, violence again marred Baghdad's landscape.
Many were killed there in a series of bombings across the country today, the deadliest outbreak of violence in Iraq since September. It comes as thousands of American veterans remember the cost of this war. Steve Chenevy joins us from Arlington National Cemetery with their story tonight. Steve?
Well, it was back in March of 2003, and there was no declaration of war. There were warnings, and then precision airstrikes began in Baghdad. 3 weeks later, the Saddam statue fell. 3 weeks after that, it was mission accomplished. Now, 10 years later, there is still much that can be debated about the war in Iraq. What's tough to debate, though, is the sacrifice that was made. They are 10 years of memories, all ages, all races and religions, all branches of service, all sacrifices for freedom.
I thought he had a lot of the solid attributes that would turn into a really good Navy chief. So I left him a chief's coin.
Manny Ruiz was 21 when his plane was shot down over Iraq. Brian Steele was his chief petty officer at the time.
We served together in Al-Assad in the Anbar province of Iraq. It's hard to imagine that 10 years ago that all started.
On this day, those memories come flooding back for those who lost loved ones and fellow soldiers honoring the fallen. Among them, an Army reservist named Tony, who was just 10 years old when the war started, now visiting Arlington Cemetery for the first time.
Sobering, awe-inspiring, incredible, overwhelming.
Tony never served in Iraq, but he was in Afghanistan, where he accompanied a fallen soldier's casket home. The grave he came here to visit today, along with honoring those who fell in Iraq while he was still too young to serve.
I don't think it's really understood. I think a lot of people don't see it. I think a lot of people just forget. I mean, they know there's a war going on, but beyond that, that's about it, because it doesn't affect a lot of people personally.
But for those with loved ones here, where birthdays and holidays are still observed, what began with airstrikes in Baghdad 10 years ago will always be remembered. Now, the final tally from the war financially, according to some estimates, more than $2 trillion. The final tally in lives lost, more than 4,400 U.S. service members, many of them buried here in Arlington. Steve Chenevy, ABC 7 News.